I currently work for the federal government as a contractor for the Forest Service. I'm the jerk that listens to our agents and makes sure they're doing the right thing. So when it says this call may be monitored, that's me. That's what I do all day. So I get to talk to myself. So hopefully you guys will interact with me and we can make this a good presentation and you can learn a little bit about me and what makes me considered by others and myself a successful person. But before we can do that, I think I want definitions from you guys of what a success is and what a failure is. We'll do success first. What do you guys think of when you think of successes?
Happiness.
Happiness? That's a good one.
Meeting a goal.
Nobody Google it and read the definition. That's
What did you say, Jessica? Meeting a goal.
Oh, gee, thanks.
What else do you guys think of success? Not only think of yourself, but think of your students and children, especially individuals with disabilities. What are some of their successes, or what does it mean for them to be successful for you as parents?
Overcoming barriers.
That's a good one. Any more? Now we'll leave those, and if you could draw a line, we're going to do, I hope that you will give me a lot more of these, because this is what a lot of parents struggle with. When you think of the word failure, what do you think of?
The stepping stone to success.
Very nice. Disappointment, that's a good one as well. Any other things you think of when you think of the word failure, especially for your individuals with disabilities?
Not meeting goals.
Not meeting goals, not good enough? What type of goals?
Probably education or
Don't think,
social.
you also don't have to think that broad. It could be toilet training for a student, it could be tying their shoes, it could be many different things. So think of more narrow on a daily basis what you guys think when you see what you guys would consider failures that would stress you out as parents for your students.
Not meeting goals, but I know that they can.
That's a really good one. Have you seen them achieve that goal before?
Yeah.
That's a really good one.
Having to repeat an instruction.
Okay, that's a very good one as well. What was that? Sorry.
I'm just adding on or
Okay.
repeating. Perhaps a 10-year-old that does not stay focused very well.
Those are all very good. Jim, you can go sit down. Unless you want to stand up here and just look
No,
pretty.
all right.
We'll come back to those in a few minutes. But I want to give you a disclaimer, two disclaimers actually, before I start my presentation for you guys. You can laugh at my jokes. You can feel the struggle that I feel when I tell you some of these stories. But don't look at the emotion I give you as the proper emotion. I've already experienced the emotion of these stories, so I'm already over them. So now they've just become part of my repertoire of funny stories. None of my stories that I'm about to tell you today have been embellished, changed, or added to be more funny. They just are the way they are, and that's what you guys are going to get. So feel free to feel that emotion, but don't think that I'm pushing it aside by not having the same emotion anymore. Being upset or angry or laughing. I've already experienced these stories, so they have a different impact on me. Also, starting about a year or so ago, things did not go the way I wanted them to as I was going along. And we'll get into that some more. But I was going to come in here and give you guys a presentation where it was some of the stuff I believed. I believed the stuff that I was going to tell you at one point or another throughout my life. But I had been struggling with some personal stuff that we'll talk about later on. So starting on Sunday, I actually watched a on-demand special about comedy and comedians. And it wasn't just because it was funny, but it talked about the struggle that they had, and it just made me think and have a different outlook. So you guys are getting some very raw emotion and some raw stories from me today that I'm more than willing to share. It's just, I am excited to tell you these stories instead of just doing it out of routine. So, we're going to go kind of on a quick roller coaster ride because I know everybody wants to go home. So I grew up as an individual with a disability that always thought as a kid that I could do whatever. I was never different because I always had friends. I always was quote unquote normal. But then as I progressed through that, I realized that I was different. And the biggest step for me when I was younger was determining whether we would make the choice of possibly assuming whether I could walk or whether I'd be in a wheelchair full time. That was one of the biggest decisions that my parents had to make. I didn't really have a choice in that. I was too young to make that choice. But they made the right choice. I'm fully independent now. Yes, I still can't do some things, and I hire my own personal care, but it was the right choice. I've got full independence. Even though my first wheelchair was always fun, because I'd always try to tip it over. We had a big hill behind my house, and I would try to drive it up. And they're not designed the way they are now, and I would flip it over all the time. And my parents would laugh, because I was being a normal kid. I was just doing what I needed to do to survive. It's not survival in a bad way, but that's basically what it is with a disability. I'm glad I was not protected and I got to experience the negativity that I see on the daily, because it's given me a thick skin. And I will make fun of them as much as they make fun of me. So it's having a disability like I do makes it so I can use it to my advantage. Not to get things because of my disability, but use it to break down barriers of interacting with individuals I don't know. I love going up to random people. I have a friend that works for me. She does all my personal care, but she cannot believe that I'll go up to random people, like when we're in the store or just hanging out, and talking to random people just about it. It can be a person I've never seen in my life. It can be any kind of person, and I will chat and interact with them. And I will also make it very awkward for her. She just had a baby, and I said, I love to joke with her and say, I I'm going to go into a store and say, why won't you let me be a father to our baby? It is not my baby. But I love to break down those barriers and those interactions. She wants to kill me by the time we're done with the whole situation. But for me, the disability has been a stepping stone to my successes. Now, do I consider myself a successful person at this point in my life? Not necessarily. I've had lots of successes in this successful time, but I don't necessarily consider myself a successful person. Now you say, what's the difference? Because I haven't achieved those things that bring me happiness. I am not in a negative state, but I haven't achieved those things that bring me the joy. That's success to me. Joy is success. It isn't about money. It isn't about my ability to drive a car. At the age of 16, I decided I'm not going to drive a car. And it all started because my parents read me a story. There was a paraplegic out of somewhere in Michigan, I believe. He got in a car accident. They thought it was best for him to keep his license. 6 months later, got in a car accident again. Ended up killing 2 people. Not interested in doing that at all. That's not, driving a car is not a success for me. Success is making others happy and reaching my happiness at whatever it is. And you have to remember that for your kids as well. It isn't about achieving what you did as a parent. It never is. Because I'm never going to achieve what my parents did. I'm just not. So I have to come up with my own achievements to be successful. My parents achieved everything they ever wanted. They did the same career for 20, 25 years. That's something I want to do. I want to find something that makes me happy. And that's what you have to help your kids find. You can't achieve that happiness for them. I know that sucks. You can't protect them from failure. Because people are mean, dude. People are just ruthless. Like, I have so many people come up to me. I've been in restaurants. And I'll be with mind you, my friends are just as messed up as I am when it comes to using the disability as a positive thing. I have some of the best friends in the entire world and I wouldn't change it for anything. Well, I was with a group of my friends and the waitress looks at my group of friends and she's like, is he done eating that? And all my friends, they know me at this point, so they don't say anything. So then she looks at me and I start barking like a dog. And my friends just die, just die. Because they're supportive, they understand that stuff. They know that people are not going to have proper interactions. Now, that doesn't give me the right to be a jerk. I try every day to stay positive. And that's why I told you the disclaimer before. I wasn't interested. I did this because I was asked because of people I know that work here. But I wasn't in a positive mood to do that. And after watching the comedian special, because having a disability is like being a comedian ready to start. It's the same every day. You're going to a different group of people. You're going to different hotels. You're going to see people that interact with you differently. Your jokes are going to be funny or they're not. We do that every day. And I have to be ready every day. I'm on guard every day. And people say, you don't have to prove yourself to anybody. I do if I want to have a job and live and work and do what adults are supposed to do. Owning a home and having a job is not special to me. It's just what I was raised to do. That's what you do. You take care of your responsibilities. Now, does that mean that every one of your children or people you know is going to achieve having a full-time job, owning a condo, and having to deal with all the stuff that comes with the condo, like all the old people complaining about the parking and the snow removal and yelling at each other? No, it doesn't mean that, but it means you have to find those individual successes, work with the staff. Maybe it's tying their shoes. Maybe it's toilet training. It could be many different things. It's not about a success that is massive or a failure that is small or large. I've been stuck until the last week or so. I've been stuck in what I call a failure loop. Nothing was working out for me because I had the wrong perspective. I always wanted different things. Like I don't like my job. I don't enjoy it, but it's still a job. It allows me to be able to go out and do things that I enjoy and own a home. And I was stuck in that loop of negativity every day. Relax, take a deep breath, enjoy your children. Don't get stuck in the failure loop. Because I was stuck in it for a long time. And it just happened to be a raw special on comedy that made me realize it's a struggle every day, but you know what? You know what my biggest success is? Getting up and doing it again every day. That is the biggest success. Your kids get up, they go to school, they are happy when they come home. That is the biggest success in life. It's not these big grandiose things. I'm doing the same thing I do every day, but that's a success just to get out of bed every day and enjoy life the way it is. That is the biggest success that I could ever be happy to have, because I plan out every aspect of my life. I have to hire people to get me up. I have to hire people to help me with the bathroom. I have to make sure I have a way to get to work. Make sure that my dog's taken care of. Make sure I get food, even though I couldn't stand to miss a meal or 6. But going to medical appointments, I have to plan all that stuff. Those are really successes for me, only because I do it every day and I do it happily. I don't say to myself, oh, I don't want to do this anymore. I go to work because that's what adults do. They go to work, they spend time with friends, they cause shenanigans, they get kicked out of places, they drink too much alcohol and they can't drive their wheelchair out of the bar. Your kids can do everything other people do. You just have to find what those successes are for those individual people. So I'm going to pause for a second. You don't have to write these down. But what are some successes of your kids? I know you see them every day. You don't talk about them because you don't think anybody cares. But what are some successes of your children? And I know you have some, and if you don't, I'm going to come and show you small successes. What are some of the, and it can be some of the staff, too, that they see from their kids every day. So what are some of the successes that you see from your children?
Getting homework done in a timely manner.
That is a huge success. Does it happen often, or is it just every so often?
Every so often.
But when it does, that is a success.
Pretty phenomenal.
It should be a positive success. It's not always going to happen. There are days where I'm like, oh, I don't want to do any of this right now. But I still do it every day. There are days where I'm like, I wish somebody could call for medical appointments. Or I wish I didn't have to work 40 hours to pay my mortgage on my house. But it's still a success for me to get up every day. And it's still a success for your child to finish their homework, even though it may be every 4 days instead of every day. It's still a success. So that's something to be happy about and be positive with the interaction. What are some other positive interactions between you guys and your students or children?
son made a basket in the last basketball game of the season.
That's a huge one. Does your son really enjoy sports?
Yes,
Is that the first time he's ever made a basket?
I think so.
That's a huge success because you will remember that experience for a long time. Don't diminish those experiences. Embrace them and enjoy them. Because for some people, even like myself, like I said, I didn't think that I was having successes very often. Because everybody equates success to wealth. Yeah, I own a house and I have a job and I have 2 degrees. But it doesn't mean that I'm a happy person all the time. Because I may have a job that I don't like. Or being 34 and single with a disability is not fun either. And it's not about dating or anything like that. But your kids or students have the same feelings that anybody would have. So, encouraging those small successes so you don't get stuck in the failure loop where you think everything has to be better. Oh, my kid can't tie his shoes, my kid's gonna fall down, my kid's not gonna walk on time. That's all just negative. Enjoy the small things. Enjoy the hugs and the cuddles and all that stuff. Enjoy life because those successes are the most important thing. Any other successes? Come on, you guys have to have, they can be older kids, they don't have to be disabled kids either.
Well, if you go by that a failure is a stepping stone to success, my son can't tie his shoes. So he was sliding his feet in and out of his shoes, which wears on the shoes really bad. So we actually found him a set of shoelaces, but they're magnets. And he,
I've
even
seen
now,
those.
thinks it's the greatest thing that he can tie his own shoes. That is a huge success to him.
Uh-huh. And see, that wouldn't be a huge success to somebody that doesn't have disabled background. Like that's just whatever you can put on your shoes. But it's remembering those positive successes and embracing them, enjoying the way life is. Because it don't get any easier, I'll be honest. People are not pleasant most of the time. So, I mean, they're just, because they've never, and a lot of it is they don't know. They don't know. And that's why I've surrounded myself with a great support system, like in the previous PowerPoint presentation. Supports are the greatest thing in the world. Because if I didn't have them, yes, my parents are supports, but believe it or not, my parents are getting old. Like, they're getting old. Jim knows both my parents. So, I have to have supports other ways. They're there for me 110%, but they're not going to be there all the time. They're not going to be there to encourage those small successes. That's why my best friend, funny story about my best friend. He's the greatest guy I have ever met. Never did personal care in his life. 19, we're at a party at Grand Valley. The guy who's supposed to put me in bed throws his back out. So he says to my friend, "Hey James, can you help John?" He's like, "Sure, but I am drunker than a skunk right now." So he was super wasted. I was sober at that point in time. Notice how I said at that point in time, as the night went on, I ran out of bed. But it was hilarious. The man had never done personal care at all. He doesn't do personal care for anybody else. He is my support system. Him and his wife. I was actually in his wedding a few weeks ago. It's kind of interesting to have a disabled person in a wedding because we're all sitting outside. The part of the bride and groom's party went on a party bus. but part of us didn't. There's a whole other story for that, but it's not part of this presentation. But a homeless person walks by and says, "Are you so excited to be a wedding little boy?" And all my friends whip around and they look at me like, "Do you want us to beat him up? Like, what's going on?" But I let those things slide because they're entertaining. I love telling you guys these stories because I can't make them up. They're 100% for real. Life is so short. Enjoy those successes because if you don't, you'll be drowned by failures. And even with me moving from Ionia to Grand Rapids, because I lived in Ionia here for a long time, it was great to sign all the papers on my condo and to be able to hire my own staff. I enjoy hiring people. I enjoy getting to know people. And they enjoy their job too. They say I'm their favorite person to work for. A lot of them work for nursing homes. And I said, I would be the greatest person in a nursing home because I would chase everybody around. So for me, success didn't used to be measured the way I'm measuring it now. I used to be, honestly, in a dark place, not anywhere where I felt uncomfortable about myself, but I was not a happy person. But to look at it and say, it's not about things you achieve, it's to prove that you're strong enough to put up with the bull crap, to come back and do it all again the next day. Because it's going to be a different kind of interaction each day. Because I interact with all different kinds of people every day. For some reason, with my disability, and I've learned it from my mother, I've learned the art of being able to complain very tactfully. So everybody's like, "Can you call this company for me and complain and get me free stuff?" And I do. Like, helping people is one of my successes. I enjoy helping people. It makes me feel good that I'm achieving something by helping others. So for me, and every one of your students or kids, you got to look for those small victories, man, because those big failures, they can drag you down deep. And it's funny because I have some of the same stories as a kid as I do as an adult. Jim will know this story. As a kid, I was in a stander, and I was in Jim's classroom, and I decided to make the stander move over to the wheelchair. And the stander got caught on the wheelchair, and I pushed it all the way forward, and I went flying across the room. It almost gave Jim a heart attack, and he probably ended his career. But that same story, not with the stander, but with the key chain, just happened 3 days ago. My friend was putting on my jacket. We were getting ready so I could go to work. Her lanyard got stuck on my joystick. We didn't know what was making the chair go. She got both feet right in the back of her ankles. She has bruises from the bottom of her butt all the way down to her ankles because she almost went down to the ground. And we're laughing hysterically during this whole thing because we don't know what else to do. Things like that happen when you have a disability. So just take them as they come, because they seem to happen to me a lot. So I've learned to take the struggles of life and just roll with the punches. They go to my Rolodex of stories and funny things. Me and my brother didn't always get along in school. Like, we actually hated each other. And I would try to run him over, and he would try to kill me. So we get along good now. He's married with an excellent nephew. I'll be honest, when I knew that he met someone that was a great person and stuff, the disability part of me was extremely jealous because I struggle on the daily to prove myself to people in a relationship role. But I've decided now, after doing that for so long, and not failing on my end, but having other people fail me by not giving me opportunities, to just enjoy the ride. My brother, we went to go see B.B. King 2 years ago when he was here at Frederick Meyer Gardens. And they were handing out alcohol. You have to wear an alcohol band when you go in there to show that you're above 21. And the guys going through the line, they're free, there's no cost or anything. Guys going through the line completely skips me and my brother. He looks right at me and skips me. Not that we were drinking. My brother had never seen that before. He'd never seen people just completely just ignore me. He went crazy. He emailed the HR people. They came and gave me a public apology. I had never seen my brother have my back 110% like that. It didn't bother me that I was ignored because I'm used to it. I'm used to not having that happen, so I just, another person does it, add it to my list. But I had never seen my brother feel that kind of emotion where he saw somebody completely ignore me. And like I said, not that we were drinking that evening, but he was just frustrated that there was no reason I should have been skipped. None at all. And just to see that, that's when our relationship, and he started to realize that I can be a good brother and be supportive of everything that he needs as well. Because growing up, he got drugged all the therapies, all the bull crap that I had to do. Figuring out does he have cerebral palsy? Does he have something else? Every therapy, everything. So I can see why that was a struggle for him. And he had ADHD too. So my parents had a double whammy, ADHD kid and a cerebral palsy kid. That's like trying to find the prize in a thing of Lucky Charms. Like, that's a big whammy. So my parents are strong. But they also allowed me to fail. And I know that's the biggest and hardest thing ever, is they've allowed me to experience things the way they come. And allowing a child to fail with the support to be successful in the end is the key to success. Because if you don't have failure, all the successes aren't anything if you don't not be able to achieve it. Like, the most recent thing that's going on in my family is I've been asked by my work to go to DC for 4 days and advocate for what we do as part of employment. My mother already said she ain't going with me because she don't want to fly on the plane with a wheelchair. She was very clear that she is not the one going if I decide to go. So she knows that I'm going to make the right choice and that I have a head on my shoulders to be able to do so. And I know a lot of your students or children may not have that ability. I understand that. But you have to provide those opportunities so they can have small successes and possibly build up to bigger ones so you don't get stuck in that failure loop that even I was stuck in.